لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد. السلام عليكم. Salam. With every goodness, there is the possibility of reverse to its opposite. With every privilege, there is also responsibility. If you have the notion or the idea that you have faith, trust, and you are a Muslim and you like to be on the prophetic path, which is based on Quran, then equally you have a responsibility that comes with it. That means your mistakes, your errors, your lapses could be even more dramatic. There's no escape. The more you have knowledge, the more you have responsibility. The more you have wealth, whether it is wealth of inner or outer, again, you have responsibility. So we who trust and have faith in the Quran have to approach the whole story with a much greater, if you like, courtesy, presence, correctness, reverence, love, and willingness to truly follow unconditionally. Initially, it's all conditionalities, cause and effect. This is up, this is down, this is right, this is wrong, this is day, it is night, he's alive, he's dead. But as you progress along the higher and higher levels of consciousness, you come to a point where there is pure consciousness, absolute consciousness. The biggest issue in existence is how to relate the relative, the up and the down and the good and the bad and the young and the old, with the absolute. All of the great prophetic paths and religions reminds us that the entire story is about one cosmic reality, from which comes in cascades and in many different levels countless realities. There are physical realities, there are chemical realities, there are biological realities, there are earthly realities, there are galactic realities, and on and on and on and on. All of them are like radiations from that non-discernible by senses, that cosmic divine reality. So the project is that we, all of us, profess, confess, experience humanity. We have a body to care for, we have a mind for it to be clear, we have senses, we have emotions, we have fears, we have anxieties, we have etc., etc. But equally, the entire thing is emanating, returning to absolute reality. That's the story. That is the human project. If you say, no, I'm only here in order to make good and make well, money and children and so on, fine, you're limited. Darkness prevails there as well. You're all the time struggling for more light, but with every spark comes also the spot of darkness. There is no goodness unless there is with it the spark of its reverse. That's how it is. There is no day begins unless the beginning of the night already is in it from the first moment, until it prevails and becomes night. This is the story. All of the thousands upon thousands of the great beings enlightened were sharing, until the ultimate, if you like, prevalence historically also, and growth in consciousness with the Prophet Muhammad. He said there is no more news after this. That's why there is no more a prophet. There's nothing more. You are here to discover through the struggling that the so-called you requires to be accountable, requires to do. Otherwise you will be sick. All sicknesses are due to spiritual sickness. The world crisis now is a spiritual crisis. The ecological crisis, climate, all of them, because each one of us is wasteful. We don't know, why are we leaving the tap this? Why are we wasting? Why are we showing off? For who? Will you be show off if you're going to die right now? Why not imagine, think that your life may stop any minute? What guarantee do you have? So you become fully alive. Then death for you will not become a fear of departure. It will become a celebration of arrival, of starting something fresh. Otherwise, it's mashallah. Unfortunately, and if only, most people are like this. Most people are worse than sleepwalkers because they're causing more damage. So it's an ecological disaster. Our leadership is even worse. They represent the people. So if the people want this, that, and the other, this is what the leadership will be. So it is perfect justice within what we will collectively regard as unjust. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين اتخذوا الله ولدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذا أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا.
Thank you. This is a great surah. There are about a dozen such surahs. All of them are great in their own way, but this one has many, many events that were prevalent at that time. People were concerned about these events. What do you make? So they'll come to ask the Prophet. It's a Makkiyah surah, but many of the events also have concerned the people more and more later on. There are a dozen or so issues in human history that we are all concerned about. Apart from the fact of where do we go after death, is there any possibility of avoiding it? I want to have good destiny. Everybody wants to have a good destiny, good future. Will I have a good future? Everybody asks. What happened to those people? Early on also, the connection with Christians and Jews and many others, including also people from the Far East, was very strong due to trade, commerce, and there were very few things they could buy and sell with each other. So the people of the cave were known. There had been many, many such stories. Even as early as maybe 4,000 years ago, there were people who have gone somewhere and disappeared, or their time of years became suddenly like half an hour or 2 hours. So the issue of who are these people was very prevalent. This issue of stopping time, suddenly 400, 500, 1,000, 10,000 years passes as though it was an hour, is a big thing for us to reflect upon. The Quran is based on two major foundations. One, there is oneness behind all the countless dualities, pluralities, and other things. There is only one. The other issue of the Quran is that whatever you do, whatever you keep a secret, whatever you don't reveal, it will be shown to you after you stop interfering with your silly mind, which is after death. So it's afterlife. So the issue of what happens when time stops is a very big one. And there had been, by that time, by Muhammad's time, many incidents where there had been time travel. And there had been also space travel. In fact, the Quran is full of it. Space travel, you have got the issue of Nabi Allah Sulaiman. And time travel also repeatedly, Muhammad himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Isra wal Mi'raj. Both space and time travel instantly. So it intrigues us as human beings. What is this issue of space and time? And that is the box in which we are now being cooked. There are nothing ever you can imagine unless it's one of two. So you were in a mother's womb, now you are in the earth's womb. There is a womb of space and time. The mother's womb had 3 layers of darkness. This womb also has that. Has got your body, you've got your mind, and you have your emotions, also darknesses. So you and I and everyone else struggling to have a glimpse of a light that doesn't change. There are lights that change, come and go, day and night, on and off. But we want a light which is absolute, which is the nur of Azal, which is, if you like, Allahu Nuru Samawat. We want that. Not until you are certain, not subject to discussion, discourse, or argument. You're certain that La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You cannot do anything unless it's allowed. Your real confidence, contentment, begins with that certainty. You don't discuss anymore. Now, with the Romans being, if you like, the enemies of Christianity and all of that, it took 300 odd years before they said, no, more and more people are embracing this religion, let us embrace it and consolidate the declining Roman Empire. So about 313 years, whatever, through Constantine, they made Christianity the state religion. I am concentrating on the word state because it began to be structured, unlike Islam. It was not structured. Whoever is amongst you best and so on, people know, lead the prayer or say the thing or ask him. So once a religion becomes structured, then you have the issue of power. Because then people donate. They want to give. What do you want to give? Because it's something higher. So you want to give the best of what you have. Even one amongst the earliest monasteries, St. Catherine, for example, in the Sinai desert, there are halls upon halls of so-called treasures, donations from kings and rulers wanting to be saved. You see, we are all very clever. We're trading all the time with God. So you give this to the mosque, you give this to the church, so you will be all right. You know, you have already paid your due. What about giving that which is not yours, which is your own life? Where did you get it from? We have no less than 80 ayahs in the Quran, if you collect them, about this issue. Some of them are very potent, such as amana. We offered this trust upon the mountain they couldn't take. What is this trust? Life itself, the nur of Allah itself. It's in your own heart. But are you respecting it? Are you safeguarding it? Are you referring to it? Are you calibrating with it? Anyway, there are in this surah 4 major events, one of which is the people of the Kahf. They were these young Christians who were very badly affected and persecuted, so they wanted to maintain their deen. They were inspired to go to a cave. And they think the cave is somewhere in Syria. There are dozens of investigations and books on this issue. Now, how many were they? Where were they? Why were they? The issue is very simple. Each one of us also, if you want to save yourself, if there is a lot of upheaval, if there is a lot of killings and revolution, you want to go somewhere quietly, you go underground, keep quiet. So you want a cave. Great beings like Ibn Arabi also consider the cave as the same as the heart. He also gives a number. Ibn Arabi says there were 7 of them. And they're like the 7 different levels of the lower self. So the self can only be subdued and made quiet if it goes to the heart and keep quiet with the ruh, with the nur of the ruh. It doesn't matter. The key is that we all want to leave that which is disturbing us, which is not conducive. So they go to the cave and they sit. Then Allah's mercy is such that He wants to show them time is relative. 300 odd years is inconsequential. Quran says 309. And books are also written on that. Some people even say the 9 is because of the Hijri year and so on. You know, there are no less than 8,000 commentaries. It's endless. But if you don't take the meaning of it and the light of it, you will end up, you need 50 lifetimes in order to even read what everybody was educating themselves. Most of these commentaries is by the fellow or himself or herself wanting to learn. So it doesn't really matter. But the discussion as to how many were there, because we count, because we are all the time trading. Is it better for me? Am I getting more? That is why Ghazali says any transaction has got in it the element of haram. Because you will only transact if you think it was good for you. So that means you have got something more. We are like this, we are creatures, we are animals. If you do not smile at your animal and put him in the zoo, you will always remain all transacting. Is it better to build this mosque or the other mosque? Who are you bribing? But of course, status is very important. You become a very important Muslim. People have more respect for you. So it goes in your head. So you have also a spiritual arrogance. So the key issue here is that these young people escaped from the tyranny of the day to maintain their faith. And then the rahmah comes, Allah wanted to show them that it was just like that, like few hours. And between them, they start discussing. How long was it? Is it one day? Was it two? So one of them says, look, we are hungry. Takes the money we have and go to town, but be careful. They may affect you, they may, persecute you, whatever. But be gentle, be careful, and get us some good food. And then they see that, what has happened? Just like that. You and I also, look back for 20 years. Stop the last month or two because you still remember. Go back for 20 years. What did you do? What happened? What have you gained? What have you given to others that have enabled them to have something that they have gained sustainably? Not just a little pleasure. That comes with pain. We want a joy. We want something that does not go back. We want to continue rising in consciousness. So these people were in the cave and they could not hear anything or touch upon anything, and their heart were still and strengthened by that episode.
ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا هؤلاء قومنا اتخذوا من دونه آلهة لولا يأتون عليهم بسلطان بين فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا وإذا اعتزلتموهم وما يعبدون إلا الله فأووا إلى الكهف ينشر لكم ربكم من رحمته فآووا إلى الكهف ينشر لكم ربكم من رحمته ويهيئ لكم من أمركم مرفقا وترى الشمس إذا طلعت تزاور عن كهفهم ذات اليمين وإذا غربت تقرضهم ذات الشمال وهم في فجوة منه ذلك من آيات الله من يهدي الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقودا ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالوسيط لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا.
Thank you. I consider the majority of human beings in our time are like the people of the Kahf. And this, the ayah before last covers them. It says, if you look at them, you think they are awake. In truth, they are not. That's the same with everybody else. Everybody is in the cave of their own fantasy and their own anxiety and their own worries of the mind. What are all worries about? Why everybody has a frown? Why nobody is truly content, not even for 5 minutes? Relaxed, flow with life itself. What is it? It's the same story that all human beings are obsessed by, and that's life. Everyone is obsessed with life, which is forever, but we try to prolong it. Until such time your mobility fails, your digestive system fails, and you say, no, thank you, it's enough. But otherwise, no, I like, mashallah, you're now 80, 90, what? It is the eternal state of life that we are obsessed by. And the awakening or enlightenment comes when you realize that life is not yours. Who gave it to you? Show me the certificate of ownership. How did it come to you? Who? Two stupid parents got together and something was spurted, and the poor mother had for 9 months to carry this, which was an outside agency, and that's why she vomits. And then for the rest of the idiot child's life, the poor mother is obsessed. And the father struts around as though he's done something. He says, mashallah, it's my son, it is my daughter, and my grandchildren. And because he or she want to have a cause to live for, so he says, I'm living for my grandchildren. Poor grandchildren. Never mind, but this is not an unusual thing amongst Indians and Muslims. So the issue is obsession with life. We are all obsessed with one thing, and that is eternal life. And eternal life is the only truth, is forever. But the so-called you or I, because we have identified ourselves with the beginning or birth, therefore we fear the so-called end of it, which is death. Death is not the end. It is the announcement of the beginning of real life with no interference of mind, worries, noise, and fears. That's all. It's awakening. So congratulate somebody is going to die. Well, I congratulate you. Maybe next week you'll die. Good luck to you. I tell you, you will have no friends left because everybody else is obsessed. No, mashallah, maybe you will have a long life. Probably long life, what do you mean? I've suffered enough all these years. No, longer life. Because anyway, for our sake, meaning we want a toy, meaning we want entertainment. That's what it's ended up. So, the dog was there with them, and they had enough evidence that time has gone by for very long, few centuries. So that's why they were very cautious. You look at most people, they are like this. In truth, it is timeless. Haqq is timeless. And that energy wave band of this rare thing called timeless is in the heart. But with it comes the movement of time, so that you long to be in that state of timelessness. Your ruh is timeless. Your body is in time. So what happens with people like this, the stream of the effect of the energy of time was abated for a while. So 300 years was switched off and switched on. That's all. That's what happens. There are many people alive now. I have met a few people. Khidr himself, the effect of time doesn't touch them. So that's why it's called Khidr. Khidr means green, evergreen. It's the same, doesn't change. The stream of time and its energy effect is cast aside for a while. It doesn't mean that Khidr doesn't know that this is 5,000 years ago or 10,000, but he's not affected in his features and his skin. That's why everybody wants to be timeless. That's why this huge billion-dollar industry called cosmetics, it tries to work, it works very little. For how long can you hide your wrinkles? So laugh at it. Your light in your own heart, in your own ruh, never ever dims or change. The rest, your cycle. So if you see suddenly more wrinkles, it is for you to speed up the experience of transcendent. Stop everything. There are two ways of being reborn out of time. Either going fast, that's the age we are in, go faster and burn everything and everybody around you, or stop it. The deen is to stop it. Sabr, stop that now. And you will be amazed by the incredible lights and delights of timelessness.
لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فابعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظروا أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا إنهم إن أظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذن أبدا وكذلك أعثرنا عليهم ليعلموا إن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم فقالوا ابنوا عليهم بنيانا ربهم أعلم بهم قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم قل ربي أعلم بعدتهم ما يعلمهم إلا قليل فلا تمار فيهم إلا مراء ظاهر ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا ولا تقولن لشيء إني فاعل ذلك غدا إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى ربي أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا.
There are wonderful teachings in here, one of which is the nature of the mind. The argument, how many were they? Immediately we want numbers. 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. But most of the Christian, if you like, references say there were 7. And so this is the mind nature to all the time try to quantify, to pigeonhole. Is it up or is it down? How many years? Where? This is the nature of it. The mind is the most wonderful faculty. A clear mind is a big, big gift, so as you can discriminate. But then a pure heart is far more vital because it encompasses the mind, it gives mind its energy, and also it connects from one side to the ultimate light, which is timeless. So with a pure heart, with the light of the heart, with a clear mind, you have connected humanity with divinity. One of them without the other is not possible. Divinity on its own is perfect, but that's unknown. But humanity cannot survive without the light of divinity or the nur of the ruh, or your life. The two together. So each one of us have a serious duty in this life to connect our humanness, our culture, our background, the color, the race, all of these things with the light of lights. When you do that, then you are in balance. Otherwise, humanity, all compassion is important, vital, but insufficient. You still remain insecure. You still remain in doubt. You still remain wanting something, and you don't know what it is. And it's not a thing. It is a zone of light that takes you to the beyond securities. Security, you need to have reasonable body. All right, you're healthy or well and so on. You need to have shelter. You need some decent clothing. So fine, you have all that. You need to have good social life, good companionship, good neighbors, and so on. All of it, supposing you've got all that, is that enough? No. You want to be certain that the governor of it all, Allah Azza wa Jal, is the most perfect just, and He is everywhere and nowhere to be found as a discernible entity. This is what you need to know for sure. Then you're a decent human being, but equally full of delight and full of good inward, if you like, cheerfulness. If they tell you are going to live for 2 more seconds, say, please excuse me, let me put the book down so that I don't trouble you. That's it. You know that the real you is a nur of Allah, is a ruh. Allah blew it into you, and that ruh is forever, not subject to birth and death. So you are here in order to be puzzled by yes and no, good and bad, and judge it without judgment, without also punishment and reward. Life on earth will be eradicated. You must accept up and down, right, wrong, appropriate, inappropriate, fair, unfair, just, unjust. The source of injustice is the childish illusion in the mind that I'm separate from my mother or from God or from nourishment. I am independent. So a child is always taught to be independent so that they can wash themselves. How can ever you be independent? We are dependent on others. We're dependent on the day and the night, on the sun and the moon, and the neighbors and friends and relatives and family. Interdependence. And amongst that interdependence, if you like, ups and downs, there will be always those who are more awakened than others in the sense of consciousness. How can you be more awakened? By putting away your sleepiness, your fog, your noise of the mind, of the head, of the memory. If you cannot switch those off, then you are in a tiz, as practically everybody else. Now, the big lesson here is ayah 23. Don't ever say, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Know that you are not the doer. There is a master choreographer, a master author. He gives you this role for a day or 2 or 5 years, 10 years, you don't know. It's roles you are playing. You are now doing this work, you are doing teaching, you are sitting, you are quiet, you are performing. These are roles you have been given. Allah has given them to you. So if you perfect your role by not being associated with the player, you will act best if you are no longer acting. It is natural to you. You're really doing on behalf of the author. You're not looking for claps or acceptance or rejection. You're just doing it because it was given to you and there is nothing else for you other than do it beyond the levels of excellence or perfection. Those are necessary, but you go beyond it. You're doing it for Allah, by Allah, and to Allah. And if you have slipped, you say, Allah made me slip. I forgot it. Allah made me slip. So you are acting, doing your best, but with a much higher level of relief. You're not coming and going all the time in time. Please, no, you're present. You're in the now. You're in the moment that continues eternally. Bismillah.
سنين وازدادوا 9 قل الله أعلم بما لبثوا له غيب السماوات والأرض أبصر به واسمع ما لهم من دونه من ولي ولا يشرك في حكمه أحدا واتل ما أوحي إليك من كتاب ربك لا مبدل لكلماته ولن تجد من دونه ملتحدا واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي ويريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا وقل الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر إنا اعتدنا للظالمين نارا أحاط بها سرادقها وإن يستغيثوا يغاثوا بماء كالمهل يشوي الوجوه بئس الشراب وساءت مرتفقا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إنا لا نضيع أجرا من أحسن عملا أولئك لهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتهم الأنهار يحلون فيها من أساور من ذهب ويلبسون ثياب خضر من سندس واستبرق متكئين فيها على الأرائك نعم الثواب وحسنت مرتفقا.
Thank you. This surah has in it 4 major episodes. The first one was the people of the cave. And we'll come to the others. And there are about 12 key teaching issues, fundamentals to the deen. The other one of these key issues is ayah 27. لا مبدل لكلماته. The foundations of creation don't change. In other words, Allah created to be known. Allah created to be worshipped. Allah created injustice. Everything is balanced, and so on and so on. So there are fundamental, if you like, foundations in the cosmic realities. They don't change. And we too, as human beings, you cannot escape it. As human beings, we are given this ruh, which is of the highest nature in terms of consciousness. And we have to be loyal to the ruh by being loyal to the maker of the ruh, which is the same. The ruh is already tuned to its creator. The other great teaching in ayah number 30, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِنَّا لَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ عَمَلًا. Your business, my business, her business, our responsibility is to do your utmost. Meaning, there are about a dozen ayat that define for you the utmost. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You are never considered sincere unless you give that which you want to keep. How many times were you trying because your cupboard is full of rubbish. So you said, no, I don't want to give this. I may wear it again. And you never wear it. And I know it because I'm the same. We're all human beings. So you only are considered honest and sincere if you give that which you want to keep. I did it once and I'm still regretting it. But that is, it's not easy to, because also I started, the mind comes in. The mind said, oh, they didn't appreciate what a valuable thing it was. It's not my business. I get them anyway. We are of the same nature. It's for that reason the Quran says, if you kill one person, you killed all of creation. We're the same. As humans, we are tricky, we are nafsi, we are selfish, we're calculating, we want to show off, we want to appear, we want to use religion, if you like, as a power state. That's why organized religion is in great trouble, because people don't want to give it up. You see, you got a source of wealth, source of respect, source of power. We love power. Why? Because the light of the all-powerful is in my heart. Of course we love power. Of course we love wealth. The ruh is min amri Rabbi, is from Allah. All wealth emanates from Allah. So we love these things. But once you know you love them because there is something in you that's transmitting these attributes, then you don't run all the time to pursuing it. Because what is enough? It becomes zeros. More zeros, more zeros. It's never enough. So it ends up nowhere. It ends up being a heavy burden upon you. So the ayah 30 is completed by, it is these people for whom Jannah, or the state of that perpetual, constant, eternal paradise is created. What a gift in existence. Bismillah.
واضرب لهم مثلا رجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهم زرعا كلتا الجنتين أتت أكلها ولم تظلم منه شيئا فجرنا خلالهما نهرا وكان له ثمرا فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا
من أمر دار.
ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منها منقلبا قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك من تراب ثم نطفة ثم سواك رجلا لكن هو الله ربي ولا أشرك بربي أحدا ولولا إذا دخلت جنتك قلت ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله إن ترى أنا أقل منك مالا وولدا فعسى ربي أن يؤتيني خير من جنتك ويرسل عليك حسبانا من الله حسبانا من السماء فتصبح سعيدا زلقا.
The second story in this surah is the story of these two people. We are all human beings. We are the same. I have this, you have this, and I immediately compare, is it my car better or my house better? There are two people, both had gardens, because that was what life was about. And assets were to do with what you actually possessed physically. So they were competing with each other. And one of them was content, one of them was referring it to the real owner, the perpetual, everlasting. The other fellow was boasting. So we know the story is that the man said, and I don't think really there is such a thing as an hour. I don't think, he didn't believe in the after, hereafter. No belief in the continuity of the ruh. And the other fellow did. So then all of a sudden, you never know what, within a year or two, what we have nowadays as real wealth may be worthless. May be worthless, They consider now real wealth nowadays in the sense of countries to be the heavyweight power they have in terms of aircraft carriers or whatever. What if everybody could own 1,000 drones for $100? What can you do with that? It will change. Overnight, you don't know what to do with the junk. Overnight, you don't know what to do with these huge skyscrapers, 70, 80 of them. What are you going to do with all this rubbish? So the second story is that two people, one knows the real owner, and he is a custodian, as a Khalifa, as a representative. The other one, no, boasted with himself. So suddenly, everything comes to an end. The lesson here is, Ma sha'Allah, la quwwata illa billah. Whatever Allah wills, and Allah's will is not in your hand or my hand. We are recipients. Suddenly Allah gives you wealth, and you become arrogant, and then the ayah of the Quran says, وَإِذَا أَرَدْنَا أَن نُهْلِكَ قَرْيَةً أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَفِيهَا. Whenever the time had come for a city or a country or a whole thing to be destituted, those who become governors in it become haughty, the time will come, enough, out of the stage, finished. So you have to refer to human history. How many hundreds of emperors, imperials, kings have come and gone, and you can't even remember them now. Palaces and palaces. Look in the last 50 years in the Middle East alone. The 7 or 8 big despots we had. They had so many palaces, so many places, and most of them died destitutes in a sewage or in underground. But we don't learn because our heart is that of an animal, wanting to possess and obsess more. I have more wealth than you. This is the curse upon the lower end of our, if you like, humanity. Humanity needs to rise to the ultimate sublime point so that it gets nurtured by divinity. So, Bismillah.
أو يصبح ماؤها غورا فلن تستطيع له طلبا وأحيط بثمره فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها ويقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا ولم تكن له فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان منتصرا هنالك الولاية لله الحق وهو خير ثوابا وخير عقبا واضرب له مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء إن أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض فأصبح هشيما تذروه الرياح وكان الله على كل شيء مقتدرا المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم ألن نجعل لكم موعدا ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا.
Thank you. There are 3 major issues here regarding the foundation of the deen. One of them is ayah 44. هنالك الولاية لله الحق. Control, power, ownership, all of it is with the one. And it cascades down, it filters down, and you are given a power. I have a power of lifting my hand. But for how long? Can I remain like this for 200 years? What is 200 years in the sense of billions of years? I've given a tiny bit of empowerment for me to realize the amazing vastness of the cosmic interconnectedness and the amazing billions of mechanisms that maintains this cosmos. I can barely maintain my body. You can barely maintain your house or your property. So it's for us to be humbled. So protection, control, power belongs to the one and only. The second very important ayah is ayah 46. المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك. We all love to have power, wealth, nice appearances, nothing wrong with that. But once it becomes an obsession, once it becomes my main concern, then my value is as good as that. As Imam Ali alayhi salam says, this is now the case we are living in this world, with all food, restaurant. It wasn't 100 years ago. It was shameful 100 years ago to have a guest to take him to a restaurant. But now it has become the norm, just as well. Because miserable husband and wife are not so happy together, so it's better to take them out. Otherwise, you sit there finding these 2 people facing each other in misery. So it's better. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, if your concern is what you put in your mouth, your value is that of what comes out. This is who we are. Really, we must laugh and cry because this is what we have become. You know, meat was a rare commodity. Chicken was a rare thing 50, 70, 80 years ago. But nowadays, every day, something over 1 billion chickens are consumed. Can you imagine? What about eggs? What about woof, 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 woof? And then we say, well, I'm unfortunately, my digestive system. You have become more than a morgue for all the dead creatures in your stomach. Watch out. So, it warns us, wealth, power, your family, your own children are fitnatun alaykum. It's not to be despised. It is a test upon you. Are you going to be just that you are here, their father, their mother, and therefore their friend, but you cannot in any way control them? Earlier on, you try because they are children, they may put themselves in a situation that's not reversible in terms of, if you like, death or in terms of. But once they are mature and they can discriminate, late teens, early 20s, then you have no right. You can advise them, you can warn them, you can, but you cannot encroach anymore. Otherwise, it's obsessive. It's not correct. You have no respect for life that is the same as yours in your own children. So, that which remains forever is the best. And what remains forever? Your own ruh. And this same part of the ayah. And what about time? Again, it says, يَوْمَ نُسَيِّرُ الْجِبَالُ وَتَرَى الْأَرْضَ. We make the mountains move faster than any clouds. We all know that mountains do move. The earth is alive, but few centimeters a year or but if you put in few millions of years, right, they all came from nowhere. Only 80, 90 million years ago, which is yesterday, there were no Himalayas. So put things in perspective. You, I, he, and she are timeless as far as our ruh is concerned. But we are in time as far as your biography is concerned and your identity is concerned. But all of us really want to have a reality that is ever constant so as we put the identity in its perspective. Don't deny your identity. You have some skill, you've got something, you have some knowledge, some usefulness. But the reality is timeless. And there are millions and billions of realities. There are geological realities, there are biological realities, there are physiological realities, there are biochemical realities. They all come and go and interact and interrelate. The reality of your own ruh is divine. The more you are in touch with that, the more you are stable, timeless. How can you do that? Give up everything else. That's why the salat, you have to approach it with the right thing. Do your wudu, where is qibla, what? Until you disappear from the so-called you to the real you. The third great foundation in this, what we have covered, is about Quran. هذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها. This book, this truth, this reality, the unveiling, the revelations, contains within it everything. Meaning, the visible, the changing, and constantly putting it in perspective with the absolute. It's a very weighty, if you like, impart. Truth is ever eternal. Truth is the only truth and reality. Truth is everywhere, all the time, not subject to change. But it gets filtered down, it becomes a lie. That is why a human being making a lie is the most dreadful thing, because your life is a lie. It's a lie. You think, I did this, who are you? Show me, prove it to me. You did this last year, I don't believe you. Prove it to me. You can't go back a year in time. It's changed. So the weightiness of this amazing light is such that if you lie, it becomes double lie. Your life is an illusion. You are deluding yourself that you are this fellow, needed, wanted. Not true. They will miss you because they love themselves. They cry for you because they cry for themselves. So be honest. No, they will miss me. Did you miss me? Everybody says, did you miss me? Oh, I didn't. Because you like to be missed. Why? Because you are missing. So you want everybody else to be missing. You want to lower down everybody else to that miserable level. That's the truth. So you have to laugh, and then you have to cry. And then you have to be stabilized. And then you try to say, La ilaha illa ant subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. I've wronged myself. And Allah is all forgiving. Human being may not forgive. They remember you, say, oh, you become a lot of, because we were elephants sometimes, so you can't forget. But the others, so Allah is all forgiving. So say, yes, please, do forgive me. I've asked Allah, He's forgiven me. I know you may not, but I can't help it. You're carrying your burden. It's like that fellow was crossing they crossing the river, and the mullah, or most religions repeat the same thing. They all have mullah Nasruddins. So they say this mullah saw a woman drowning. He jumped and rescued her, took her to the side. But his Taliban, his student, was there. He said, oh, after a night, they stopped somewhere at night. He said, I saw you carrying this woman, and her chest was on your chest. And he said, well, by God, I left her there on the shore a day ago. You're still carrying it with you in your own mind. So, yeah. Most cultures, great cultures, have similar stories. And that's why the Surah Kahf has got repeated stories. Same thing, the issue of travel in space. Hundreds of such stories. From prehistorical time. From Gilgamesh, we all have that. We want to be timeless. We want to live forever. Same thing also the stories of floods. There are no less than 80 known stories of floods in different countries. Because we are the same people. We are خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. We're the same people. Different culture, different language, different taste, different whatever. That's all. We are the same children of Adam. That is why the ultimate great prophetic teaching is that those who are loved most by Allah are those who are most useful to the creation of Allah. We are all Bani Adam. Some people have got greater education, greater knowledge, greater skills, but potentially we are all the same. Who said that he who hasn't got all your cleverness or business or money and so on is even more useful to the others? How do you know? Look at Allah's way of judgment. You and I judge it because of materialistically. For the last 300 or 400 years, we have jettisoned the human project, which is to discover the divine in you and respect it and be aware. And you know that Allah knows all. Allah hears all. Allah's nur is in you. Who are you cheating? Who are you running from? So we have jettisoned the human project, made it into materialistic pursuit. Numbers, 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 numbers. فكر ثم قدر. You started calculating and numbering. فقتل كيف قدر. You have slaughtered yourself by being only concerned about measurement. Where is the smallest distance? Where is it? Where is the biggest distance? Where does cosmos end? You need to be both a cosmologist, go into the ultimate, and also micro, way into the subatomic world. And then you find we are truly ummatan wasata. We are people in the middle. Infinite this way, infinite that way, the smallest and the biggest. This is the nur of Allah. Is there any gift bigger than this? This is what the treasure of all treasures are. But yet, we're all the time collecting pebbles. But what if you are given not only the biggest mines of precious metals, also the biggest mines of the precious stones? What are you going to do with it? Supposing you have given all the diamonds. The third biggest diamond was bought by the last Nizam of Hyderabad, and he paid only, I think, about 20%, and the rest was paid a bit, and then they stopped. It's going back 90 years ago. And then the diamond was lost. It was the third biggest in the world. And then when they came to rebuild the palace for a tourist hotel, 12 years ago, people came into this huge palace, something like 900 something rooms. They were clearing it, mess from nearly 7-8 decades. There was one slipper in the corner, and one of the workers saw this miserable, it was a woolen slipper, it's all eaten. So he takes the slipper, throws it out, and that diamond falls out. Here, the whole court cases were fighting for this diamond. It was in a slipper, lying down on its way. And also, if you have that sort of diamond, anything 40, 50 carats, whatever, worth $10 million and more, you can't wear it. You don't want to lose your finger. So whatever you have now, a substitute of, and that's kept in a. We are stupid. You must really laugh at the stupidity of how this magnificent mind can be the most dangerous enemy to you. And it can be your best friend to connect you with reason, differentiating sameness. Bismillah.
وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس كان من الجن ففسق عن أمر ربه أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا ويوم يقول نادوا شركائي الذين زعمتم فدعوهم فلم يستجيبوا لهم وجعلنا بينهم موبقا ورأى المجرمون النار فظنوا إنهم مواقعوها ولم يجدوا عنها مصرفا ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا وما منع الناس أن يؤمنوا إذ جاءهم الهدى ويستغفروا ربهم إلا أن تأتيهم سنة الأولين أو يأتيهم العذاب قبلا وما نرسل المرسلين إلا مبشرين ومنذرين ويجادل الذين كفروا بالباطل ليدحضوا به الحق واتخذوا آياتي وما أنذروا هزوا ومن أظلم مما ذكر بآيات ربه فأعرض عنها ونسي ما قدمت يداه إنا جعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة إن يفقهوه وفي آذانهم وقرا وإن تدعهم إلى الهدى فلن يهتدي إذا أبدا.
Thank you. There are 4 major important lessons here. First one is the issue of the malaika doing sajda or prostrating, considering themselves, accepting the status they are in, lower than human being. Why? Because human being has a choice, small little choice. I can lift this or I can put it down. I can say something, I can stop. The angels don't have that choice. So because of that, we have this minor little, if you like, advantage over that. And when the Adamic, if you like, light was to come about after a few billions of years, when the environment on Earth became suitable to accept this amazing self-organizing reality, which we call life. When that time was right, that it wants to maintain itself. Life loves life. Life is loyal to life. Life is loyal to its creator, the life giver. So when that came about, the angel, these entities, bundles of energies, were said, look, this is ahead of you. So they all accepted except one entity, which was not Malaika, it was jinn. It was made of smoke and fire. Iblis. He said, no, I am higher than this, I don't want to. It shows you that reason is not good enough. Reason is important because he judged it by reason. So he was right in his own way. But reason is not, for Allah, everything is possible. Allah can turn it upside down. Those who is most honorable amongst you can become the most despicable, and on and on and on and on. Pharaoh can't be more worse than that. Then Allah decides, no, this fellow is a very high being, we're going to save his body. So he is saved after he dead and drowned. And the body of Ramses becomes one of the most expensive bodies that travels the world. It has to be maintained in such an environment that, and on. It costs probably about $4 to $5 million a year to maintain that body, and special aircrafts to carry it to different museums. Look at Allah's ways. It's not what you and I think. You know, Allah's ways and measures and what He wants and does is not coinciding with entirely with ours. We measure it with our head and as animals. I have more, he has less. How do you know the more you have is not worse upon you? It's not a curse upon you, and so on. So this is one thing about Iblis, and the other one is وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ أَكْثَرُ شَيْءٍ جَدَلًا, ayah 54. It's in the nature of human being to argue. Not me. No, not me. No, I didn't do that. Look at the child. You're a 3-year-old, you have got some nice something in the refrigerator, and he sticks his head into the chocolate, and his nose is full of chocolate. He said, I didn't do it. He said, so the mother knows that this is the nature. That you want to lie. Why? You want to appear to be good. Why? Because it's an echo of that which is in you, which is perfect, not good, perfect, is divine. So, but human beings' nature is to argue, not me. He did it. You pushed me. You made me. You know, so the husband is trying to do good, but the wife says, you're always pretending. Allow me to appear to be good. No, you're the. So that's why he wants to run away. He said, but doesn't know why. He wants to appear to be good, but she doesn't allow him. You've always done this. You've always lied. You've always kept more cigarettes on the side. Papa, for once, let me pretend that I'm all right. I'm not such a villain. I know I am a villain, but not such a villain. And so on and so forth. Everybody wants to appear to be reasonable, appears to be good. Why, you look in the mirror. But did you look in the mirror of your own heart? Did you look in the mirror of haqq? No, it's only face only. It's not a bad thing, because hopefully, I wrote once, there were here some facial something, there was a beautician. I wrote a plug, and she put it there actually. I said, if your heart's beauty is not as good as your face, then you are an imposter. Not a bad thing to start with the outer. But if it doesn't go towards the inner, then you're a liar. You're a clown. Why do you keep? Nothing wrong with being correct, clean, beautiful. Well, that's fine. But up to a point. Once you start mucking about, then that means you have not given attention to what matters most. You only are concerned about appearances. The other ayah, all messengers, thousands of them, they all have come with this dual 2 feet. مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. Ayah 56. Give you the good news that you are not who you think you are. Who you think you are is a bit there as human, but who you really are is a ruh, is a soul, is a divine. This is the good news. But the warning is that how can you get it? You can never get it. It has got you. You have to disappear from the you so that nur asserts itself, because it is the reality and the truth, not your personal identity and the sketch you made of your CV, because that you can change. Nowadays, if you want to even survive in this world, you have to be able to recook your CV every other day, emphasize it differently. See, I never knew. That's why you have to have all these CVs in front of you. Look at them, my God, I'm really such a great person. You see? Now, one other issue here is very important. Concern about the heart, the condition of the heart. And that's ayah 57. It says, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ أَكِنَّةً. Once the heart is blocked, you're worse than dead. Because you are pretending to be alive. You're walking, but you are dead. Now, there are 2 ways of dying while still alive. One is when your heart is dead. The other one, when you have truly given up your sense of identity. And that is what Muhammad ﷺ says. If you want to look at somebody who's walking dead, look at me. Meaning, I have no identity. I am a ruh still in this body. So there are 2 ways of being dead but still on 2 legs. One of them when your heart is dead. And the majority of people are. That's why every now and then you hear somebody dead. They say he died of heart attack. But he said, my God, I didn't think he had a heart. How could he have a heart? It's like that, you know. And others will say, no, please forgive me. Don't consider me as I am a human being. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. I'm the same as all of you. But I get occasionally a signal through where? Through my heart. Why? Because my heart is not compacted with muck and fear and lust and anxiety and hatred. It's clear. So you're ready to leave this world, ready to leave your body anytime. Then you are liberated by Allah's rahmah, by Allah's presence as a ruh in you from your lower self. That's the formula. You could not save yourself from yourself. Allah saved you because Allah created the nafs to protect you early on. First third of your life, you are a child, whimsical, emotionally immature, lying. Children love to have their parents seeing them excelling. It's no use sending your child to the best school and for him or her to be good at sports, but if the mother and the father are not there to clap, you remember you're not content. You want to have the attention of parents. You want to have your mother whispered in your ear, you're my favorite. She probably whispered in the ear of all of the others that they are her favorite. But that's something else. That's a good white lie. Keep you quiet until you find second third of your life. We are all the same. We all want the best outwardly, and we know the outer is dependent on the inner. So the third part of your life, you concentrate on your inner. Pure heart, clear mind, a guest in this world, but truly not just a lover. You are totally at one with the one. Then you don't talk about Tawheed. You know there is only Tawheed. And you know you will know it, everybody will know it after they die. That is the importance of Akhirah. And if your Akhirah is here and now, then good luck to you. You won't have the angels on the Hisab and Kitab occupied. You've spared them. You can tell them, today you can have a day off. I don't really. So when the Prophet ﷺ put his hand around Salman al-Farisi, he said, paradise needs him. He doesn't need that. Meaning, he is following the ayah which in the Quran says, قَالُوا هَذَا مَا أُوتِينَا مِنْ قَبْلِ. They are in the garden, but they say, we have been given this before. رَبَّنَا أَتْمِمْ لَنَا نُورُنَا. We only want pure light. We don't want the garden and the huris and muris with big... This is a dunya issue, but if you have not been content here, Allah will give it to you there. Meaning, have sabr. This surah is, if you like to give it another name, is Surah Al-Sabr. You will see why. Bismillah.
وربك الغفور ذو الرحمة لو يؤاخذهم بما كسبوا لعجل لهم العذاب بل لهم موعد لن يجدوا من دونه موئلا وتلك القرى أهلكناهم لما ظلموا وجعلنا لمهلكهم موعدا وإذ قال موسى لفتاه لا أبرح حتى أبلغ مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقبا فلما بلغا مجمع بينهما نسيا حوتهما فاتخذ سبيله في البحر سربا فلما جاوزا قال لفتاه آتنا غداءنا لقد لقينا من سفرنا هذا نصبا قال أرأيت إذا أوينا إلى الصخرة فإني نسيت الحوت وما إنسانه إلا الشيطان إن أذكره واتخذ سبيله في البحر عجبا قال ذلك ما كنا نبغي فارتدا على آثارهما قصصا فوجدا عبدا من عبادنا آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا وكيف تصبر على ما لم تحط به خبرا.
Bismillah. Now we come to the third story in the surah. The third story is that of Musa and Khidr. Musa was in his grooming, in his reaching the highest levels of prophethood and so on. But before that, ayah number 59, وَتِلْكَ الْقُرَىٰ أَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا. Everything has a time. So if you and I transgress, it will affect nature, it will affect the ecology, it will affect climate and so on, and will be recycled. So that is why there are cycles upon cycle upon cycle. If we are not cautious enough, if we are not modest enough, if we are not celebrating nature, going along nature rather than opposing it, fixing, and then so the end will come. And occasionally it is not reversible. So there may well be that we are now in the 6th extinction, but life continues forever. And if you have discovered the life in you that's forever, then it doesn't matter. So we have been warned that when we transgress, when we do a lot of things that are disturbing this tiny little nature of our earth, these are the warnings. The story is that of Musa and his servant who were traveling. He was looking for a connector between the two seas, the infinite and the finite, the seen and the unseen, the visible and the invisible. So he came with his servant who had a fish also in his basket, but they were tired and they left the thing near a rock near the water. The fish managed to jump and out into the ocean, into the river. So Musa was quite distressed. He said, no, we needed to eat it and so on. But they come across Khidr, the ever-living, the evergreen, if you like, prophet. That's it again. Time escapes making wrinkles on him or giving him age. There are people, you may have come across or heard about some of them, who have been for 700 years, 8,000 years appearing from a village and so on. And of course, we love these stories, so some of them becomes also mythical and, and not necessarily substantiable. But age, time, and so on is relative. So he comes across this being. The important lesson here is ayah number 67. Musa asked this man, he said, I want to follow you. He knows that this is the man whom he is looking for. And Khidr says, but إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. Certainly you will never have patience with me. Now, this is for you a very key ayah. It explains what's patience. Carry on. وَكَيْفَ تَصْبُرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تَحُطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. How can you be patient regarding something that you don't know its nature? The Quran here gives you the secret of patience. Once you know the nature of a child or a baby or a wasp, you'll forgive the wasp for stinging you. It's its nature. So you're patient. Once you know the nature of a 1-year-old is to be nasty, is to be screaming, and a 3-year-old always to say no, no, no. That's the best thing for parents, They start losing their hair and also graying. No. Everything, no. Wonderful. So how can you be patient with anything unless you know its nature? How can you be patient with the palm tree not giving you lovely dates unless you know its nature? It's not yet ready. It's not the summer yet. Patience comes with knowledge. Patience and knowledge are inseparable. Knowledge and love are inseparable. Knowledge is a connector at numerous levels. Physical knowledge, you know how it works. Material knowledge, chemical knowledge, hormonal knowledge, and. So, these are key ayahs. Bismillah.
قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرا فانطلقا حتى إذا ركب في السفينة خرقها قال أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا قال ألم أقل إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت ولا ترهقني من أمري عسرا فانطلقا حتى إذا لقيا غلاما فقتله قال قتلت نفسا ذكية بغير نفس لقد جئت شيئا نكرا قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال إني سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني قد بلغت من لدني عذرا فانطلقا حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما أهلها فأبوا أن يضيفوهما فوجدا فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض فأقامه قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا.
Thank you. It's a repeated refrain. Khidr tells Musa, didn't I tell you you cannot have patience? Because he knew Musa is learning, is an apprentice in this episode. He said, didn't I tell you? Repeatedly he said, didn't I tell you you cannot have patience with him? Meaning, I know you don't have the knowledge. Why am I making a hole in this ship? This is available for you in any of the hundreds of commentaries on the Quran. So here is the story of a being who has direct, if you like, orders from supreme consciousness, from the divine himself, direct, and appears as a human. So Musa says, what are you doing? You have made a hole in this ship. What are you doing? You have not asked for money because we are hungry. What are you doing? You killed this young man. So these were the three episodes that Musa objected to. And Khidr says, I told you, keep quiet. This is my life. I'm not following the same reason, the same limitations that I respect you have. But don't interfere. I know something that you don't know. And so on and so on. So this is the issue of when there are two beings, one completely directed with supreme consciousness, and if you like, direct revelation, and the other one is high quality human being, Musa. So he says, keep quiet, but you can't keep quiet. Obviously, you're judging, moving, reacting from your humanity. So you can't do it. It's not right. It's not correct. And carries on and on. So he describes to him the next few ayahs as to why these things happen.
أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة غصبا وأما الغلام فكان أبواه مؤمنين فخشينا أن يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا فأردنا أن يبدلهما ربهما خير منه وزكاة وأقرب رحما وأما الجدار فكان لغلامين يتيمين في المدينة وكان تحته كنز لهما وكان أبوهما صالحا فأراد ربك أن يبلغ أشدهما ويستخرج كنزهما رحمة من ربك وما فعلته عن أمري ذلك تأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا ويسألونك عن ذي القرنين قل سأتلو عليكم منه ذكرا إنا مكنا له في الأرض وآتيناه من كل شيء سببا فاتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حامئة ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا.
Thank you. Ayah 79 to 82 inclusive gives the reasons that Khidr explains now to Musa. These four ayahs descends from supreme consciousness to human consciousness. Say, look here, there was a reason I didn't want these poor people who had a nice boat to be confiscated by this unjust ruler. And that one young fellow was going to be nasty and so on, and Allah decided. So how many events take place in our own life without knowing why? A young person dies in a heart attack. These are we don't know the intermediate steps, but in this case we have, if you like, we have Khidr. So he becomes the angel or the agent, whatever. So he explains these three events. He says, look, I was acting not on my behalf. I had direct order. Then the fourth story in the surah is Zul-Qarnayn. Again, there had been many Zul-Qarnayn, two horns. If you know also so many of the other Western, Eastern cultures, the human being, because the issue of power was very much akin 3,000-4,000 years ago to bulls pulling the plow. You see, there was a big shift in human culture and civilization when it moved from horticulture to agriculture. Needed power, needed strength, needed the bull, needed horns. And you even have it 1,000 years ago with the Vikings and so on. So they ask you about who is this person of the two horns. And the Quran repeatedly says, and he followed a different course. And he followed a different course. And that is also the story of even Alexander the Great. Suddenly, all of a sudden, he did something that most people were flabbergasted, amazed. Why are you traveling at night? It's mountainous. Follow the... Anyway, so they ask you about who is this being? Because there were people in Arabia with that name. But there were others also. So that's why there are so many, if you like, possible interpretations as to who is it exactly. What do you mean exact? There are these beings whom we are all curious about. So they ask you about him, but he changes his direction and so on. That is Zul-Qarnayn. Bismillah.
قال أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه عذابا نكرا وأما من آمن وعمل صالحا فله جزاء الحسنى وسنقول له من أمرنا يسرا ثم اتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا كذلك وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا ثم اتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قولا لا يكادون يفقهون قولا قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا قال ما مكني فيه ربي خيرا فأعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قالوا انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قالوا آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا
فما استطاعوا عونا. Bismillah, that's fine. The story of Musa and Khidr has in it the repetitiveness that you cannot be patient with me. It's natural. As a human being, I can't be patient. But I have to switch off my human curiosity until I said, no, Allah will show me Allah. So there it was patience, patience, patience. Here it is ثُمَّ اتَّبَعَ سَبَبًا, repeatedly. He followed a reason, meaning causality, meaning a chain of events, meaning past and present and future, chain, connectedness. So here the story of Zul-Qarnayn is about somebody who's all the time looking for whatever is given to him to pass on. And then it comes to this story of people who have been afflicted by Ya'juj wa Ma'juj because they were descending from mountains, and he knew how to overcome their misery. So they begged him. ثُمَّ اتَّبَعَ سَبَبًا. And he knew that, no, this gap in the mountains can be closed. You can make a sed. You can make a barrier. By what? By hadid. So they melted iron and so on, and he managed to, having again, like Nuh and building the ark, by Allah's eyes. It's no longer the human eye. It is it's the divine sight. It's total intuition, total, if you like, following your inner core and your inner light rather than your head. You moved from reason to the light of your inner heart. So that is where also we as human beings, we use our head, but the point comes, you say, all right, enough, keep quiet. Now I'm going to listen to the light of Haqq. That is who we are. We are two. That is why if you do not balance humanity and divinity, we are all out of balance. We are all feminine. But if you are balancing it, then even when you forget, like what happened to the servant of Musa, I said, Shaitan made me forget. That's fine. I'm not my own master. And Shaitan is Allah's agent. So I'm fine. So you're no longer going back and forth in time, regrets, sorrow, apologies. You say no, because you are present. Presence implies using your head and heart. You start with head. If it opens up for you, fine. There's reason, there's duality. And if it doesn't, then Allah guide me. I trust you. You brought me here. هو معي فيهدين. He is with me, He is in me, and He will guide me. Bismillah.
فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه وما استطاعوا له نقبا قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء وكان وعد ربي حقا وتركنا بعضهم يومئذ يموج في بعض ونفخ في الصور فجمعناهم جمعا وعرضنا جهنم يومئذ للكافرين عرضا الذين كانت أعينهم في غطاء عن ذكري وكانوا لا يستطيعون سمعا أفحسب الذين كفروا أن يتخذوا عبادي من دوني أولياء إنا اعتدنا لجهنم للكافرين نزلا قل هل ننبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم فلا نقيم لهم يوم القيامة وزنا ذلك جزاؤهم جهنم بما كفروا واتخذوا آياتي ورسلي هزوا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا خالدين فيها لا يبغون عنها حولا.
Thank you. These 6 magnificent ayahs from 98 to 105, all to do with Akhirah. 106. Akhirah also implies that which is timeless. Because after we die, we enter into a zone which is no longer measurable as we measure it now in years and months and so on. It floats in that non-time zone. So it's timeless. The Quran is brilliant in explaining to us more about the nature of Akhirah. It tells us that those who have awakened totally to being at one with the One and Haqq, it's twice used this word in the Quran. Su'da, Sa'ad, Sa'id means happy, meaning tranquil, meaning content, meaning secure. And it says they remain in this happiness ما زالت الأرض والسماء, so long as there is heavens and earth, meaning the entire universe is not completely finished. That means after you and I die, still is continuing. There are people coming, new nations, and new whatever. So if you had awakened, then you are in that pure state of perfection and well-beingness. Until the end of the universe. Then something else comes. Then there is no distinction whatsoever. It is then that also Shaitan will join in the same nur, the same power that was initially. Shaitan is the agent of Rahman and will remain as Shaitan, remain to slip until the end of the universe. You see. Now, here you have these 6-7 ayahs describing Jahannam. Ever burning, nothing ever remains steady or stable. We all want stability. We want constancy. Jahannam is ever burning. It never ends, you see. That's why we want the end of a story. You all the time want, give me the end of the story. Your end, my end, his end, her end as human being is exactly the same as the beginning. It is eternal. It is azali. It is not subject to space and time. So these ayahs describe to us that if we are not awakened to the perfect light, we will have to give up the sediments of what we have carried in our stupid head, stupid mind, because it piggybacks on the ruh. After you die, there are these sedimentation that need to be cleared out. Then here comes the actual, to my mind, the most important 3 ayahs of the whole thing. 4 ayahs. 107, 108, 109, 110. If you do your utmost, your best, amalu salihan, what's good deed? The good deed is you are a little less selfish, less impatient, less stupid, less whatever, less whatever. This is the beginning of a good deed. And on, what is the ultimate good deed? That you do it with no expectations, with no concern about reward, with no concern about loss or gain. You do it like, that's it. Like the Khidr story. You call upon the Khidr in you. Call upon the Musa in you and stop asking all the time. And so on and so on. All of these are metaphors, if you like, of entities that are archetypal. You can go into that. Keep quiet. Don't have expectation. Once in a while, do something for its own sake. Not wanting to be more named or something behind your name. No, just do it for someone. Do it quietly. Do it secretly. Good. Those of you who give charity and so on want to be quiet, you know the benefit to you is greater because it comes from another zone. So, amalu salihat. You know if you do it for its own sake, then you are truly better connected with the origin and the light of the divine himself. Khalidina fiha. And your forever is timelessness. There are two issues, one in time and space, one is the eternal situation where time and space are not operative. Then the last two ayahs, قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي. These are fantastic ayahs, 109 and 110. And say, believe, understand, know, if the oceans were ink and all the woods in the whole universe were the pens, the ways of appearances, of commands, of entities, of realities will never end. Beyond counting. And so the orders of the Creator, the wish of Allah, the kun fayakun is endless. Where are we going to stop? How are we going to encompass it? So the intelligent, wise person moves from humanity that wants to be zamzam, zamzam, collect, to divinity, huwa Allah, huwa al-awwal wal-akhir, wal-zahir wal-batin. So you are at one with the one without denying the two-ness. You are a human being, you've got legs, you've got fingerprint, you have to do your best to have least torture in your accounts. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. Look at this being, the ultimate of the greatest of all prophets. He says, admit, say, confess. On the face of it, I'm like you. I'm a human being. I eat, I sleep, and I was born and I will die. يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. But I am connected with that innermost direct connection. The word yuha is made into something a bit too fantastical. But look, the Quran brings us down to so many different levels. Allah says in the Quran, and we inspired and we revealed to the insects, we revealed to the bees to make houses in the mountains. We are all able to receive signals higher up, higher, until such time it comes to you. Sometimes something will come to you counterintuitive. Everybody's running here, you say, no, I don't want to run. So then you are really no longer you. You are truly Abdullah. And the highest station for a human being is to be a true, connected as a divinely inspired slave to Allah. إِنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. And so whoever wants to be at face to face with the Rabb, let him do a good action. عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. What is the good action? لَا يُشْرِكَ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ. I recognize somebody is more superior, more knowledgeable, more powerful, more wealthy. But I consider all of that insignificant to the wealth of Allah, to the knowledge of Allah, to the quwwah of Allah, to the nur of Allah. So you do respect humanity, but you put it in perspective. You don't cower anymore. You say, no, thank you. You're all fine, you're good, and so on. One of the greatest lessons I learned is, as a youngster, I would be very proud in giving. You know, people look up to me, so I feel very... And there was this porter in Bombay airport, before it became Mumbai. And you had to walk in that airport for nearly 3 miles in order to get from one terminal to anyway. And I had a suitcase. And this porter was only paid by the chitti, it's all chitti, Indian is all. So he had a chitti which you pay, and he's given a chitti. And it was minimal, it was whatever it was. I've just come from England, so the difference in currency, as you know, the first world that strangles the third world. You know, you are using our currency now, we know how to strangle you, unless you become our slaves. So I too, I paid him a tip which was nearly 10 times of his daily pay. So I was arrogant, you know. He looked at me, he said, no, thank you. He returned it. And I realized, my God, no, please take, I ended up running after him with my huge suitcase, with the suitcase. Please take it. Respect the fellow who's giving you some, but don't regard him as God. But every one of us wants to play as God. Stop it, be shameful. The air goes in, may not come out. Where is that, humility? Where is that khushu'? Respect the light in you. Put up with the shadow. Don't play only shadow. Be correct, be courteous. Realize that we are here in transit. Why? There is work to be done. What is that work? To do your best in clear mind. Don't cheat too much. What next? Pure heart. Clear mind is humanity. Decent, give, correct, be generous, enjoy it. Don't pretend, don't be Fir'aun. Pure heart will guide you. This is your cave also. This is where all these 7 people, maybe symbolic of the 7 levels of the different nafs, al-ammara. So you don't need too much symbolism. Be honest, be correct, live in the moment, and you find the nur in you is alive forever. And you're fortunate if you find few friends in this life who have the same map. And that map is based on trust, faith, belief in the oneness and in the akhirah. These two together, like your 2 legs. You don't humble and mumble and you're walking. Walk gently, walk correctly. And be also able to listen. The Quran is full of it. Even in this surah, there were 3 times. Their ears are closed. Listen. Your body is telling you, give it a rest. Your mind is telling you, don't overdo it. Your heart is telling you, I want to be purified. Give that which you want to keep. We need to trust. We need to make silly mistakes and repent. We need to pray. We need to beg. We need to cry. We need also to have a relief of knowing how stupid the nafs is and laugh. And be correct and be in the balance. Be the middle between the infinite beginning and the infinite end. Ummatan wasata. And enjoy your deen. Smile with it. Don't make it a burden. Make it a bridge to cross from one day to the other to eternity. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. خب شد راحت شد خیلی زونیست